Welcome to the second episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking about myself, Sean, is my name, Eric and Connor. We've done marathons before, but it's Aaron's first ever marathon, so we're going to be talking about doing your first ever marathon and what he thinks may be his best approach for these next 15-16 weeks leading up until we all do the Madrid marathon at the end of April. So we may as well go straight into it. What the hell you got to do for the next 15-16 weeks?
Bearing in mind you haven't crossed the road in 2 years. let's just
put that out there.
Let's just remind everyone listening that this man sits in an office from 6 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon.
Barely gets 5,000 steps in it.
Barely.
How do you get to work in the morning?
Bus.
How do you really get to work early in the morning?
Bus or a taxi.
So we need to paint a picture of what kind of your background is here. So as we said last week, a 5k in Marley Park about 2 years ago was
yeah, it's probably even maybe a little bit longer than 2 years. I'm not going to admit that.
So what's the plan?
I think the first 2 weeks is literally just to get back running again.
Right.
Get up to like a 5k the first week and get up to like a proper 5k in the 2 weeks. And then try and build it up from there.
Now, to a lot of people at home, like, we know you, so I know you're stubborn. So I know, like, you saying I'll get up to a 5k in a week, but 5k is actually quite a big step for someone who hasn't ran or someone who hasn't done it. Yeah. But I just know on your level of stubborn, you're like, no, I'll do it. But for everyone listening, they'd probably agree, or you should agree, or maybe the 5k is a big step for people who haven't done anything, you know. But it is a good plan to have.
Yeah, like I'm probably going to try do parkrun, whatever it is. But because on a Saturday, like, you have people around you, you see this old guy in his 40s or old guys in his 60s, you know, running past you, and you're like, I need to hang with this guy, you know, this old fucker can't.
Stop looking at Sean.
This old guy can't beat me now, right? And you know, just stick with him, just stick behind him. You're like, okay, take the pace, take the pace. You know, if it's going up a hill, you're just like, okay, I can afford to give him maybe, you know, 20 meters there, but I have to get back up down that hill. And then you're kind of just hoping he's like old enough that in the little, you know, 100 meter sprint towards the end, you know, you fly past them and you're just like, happy days.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think, you know, like Eric said, I mean, obviously we know Aaron and how stubborn you are, and you know, obviously you'll do it and put your mind to it, just more for the fact that rather than you want to prove us wrong. Yeah. I mean, you know, certainly I think that from my perspective, I always felt running was a very kind of personal thing. I think probably the worst thing you could probably do is try and match someone else's pace. You know, it's my opinion. I think that when particularly you're trying to get yourself back moving again, you know, measuring yourself off someone else is only going to, you know, lead you to failure or set you up for failure.
It might set you up for failure with 5k, but unfortunately my first marathon, I try to keep pace with him for the whole 42.2.
So you know what it feels like then.
I tell you, as the closest I ever came, like the further we ran, the more punchable his face became. I wanted to kill him.
It's a pretty punchable face already. Like.
We don't like to talk about it too often.
No.
Maybe we'll leave that one for later.
It's probably the lowest. But again, like that, in terms of the long distance in the marathon, you are going to be humbled by, as you say, the old people, because what they have is experience. They have mileage in the legs. They've done it before. In the last marathon, there was a lady who ran it, her 40th marathon in 40 years. The Dublin Marathon. And to her, you know, that's she's an old lady. She's mid-60s, pushing 70s, and that's experience you just can't get in a week or two, you know. And although it is nice to pick a target, and I do get what you're saying, that like when you size someone up and looks being deceiving, you go, right, if I can stick with him.
Yeah.
And it's a good push. It's the reason why people join running clubs. It's to be pushed along. It's to have something. It's to be drawn along. It's the husky in front that's going to pull the sleigh. Essentially, you just need to cling on to something to get you over that next corner, next hurdle, next hill.
It is that muscle memory, because like the first couple of times I trained for it, the idea of doing even half marathons was like, man, I gotta go running out there for 2 hours, and that distance just seemed like a long time. Where, like you were saying in the first podcast, you go out now and do a 2.5 hour run, and it's nothing to you. And like the third time I did a marathon, mentally it was by far the easiest. I hadn't trained as much for that one as I had for the second one, but mentally it was like I knew what was coming. I knew what my body was capable of, and it just became a lot easier. So those big distances can seem very daunting when you first start, but then it is that repetition of getting the long runs. But to your point, Aaron, I think building up towards a 5k over 3-4 weeks, especially if you've only got 16 weeks to do a marathon, at the end of 4 weeks, the 5k should be somewhat comfortable and seeing your time starting to go down if you're going to do it in 16 weeks. Now, if your goal isn't to do a marathon in 16 weeks, obviously take your time, pace yourself out until you get towards that 5k, but we all start at different points,
and that's the reason why I suppose Couch to 5k exists, is
Yeah.
because it is a milestone for people. You know, people always go, especially when we're doing the long distance, and I was quite active and posting up on the Instagram, not to rubbing in the faces of people to say, oh, I'm after running 2.5 hours, or I've covered 27k in X amount of time. And then someone else would put up, I ran a 5k, and I'd send them, Jesus, well done, that's a big achievement, well done. They're like, sure, it's nothing compared to what you do. And the response is, and it will be to Aaron, it's never what I've done or what you can do, it's how far you've come from where you started. And that's what this whole thing is about. It's what each of us can do from where we've started last week, and how the training goes, and hopefully people listening just remember that it's not about beating the person beside you, it's about how far you come along the way on any given run day. And that's why we're doing it. It's any day you go out, can you be better than your last self? And that's what we're trying to achieve. And that's, I suppose, the advice I would give Aaron on his run, and that's your way of doing it, is I'm going to be him, I'm going to be her, and it'll get me across the line.
It's not even beat, it's just I need to hang with that person.
that keeps going.
It's like I see them in front of me, okay, like just try keep up with them, and then okay, if you can't keep up with them,
Pick someone else. Quickly. Pick someone behind you.
I don't think there's ever been a race that I've done, though, there hasn't been like just one person that keeps lurking near you, and you're like, when I get to the finish line, I'm going to be ahead of him. I don't, him or her, I don't care what. And there always just seem to be, you pull away a bit and then they catch up, or they pull away and all of a sudden you see with this,
or
and
you
you're
go
like,
up a hill and then they catch up and you're like, what are you doing here? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, but like the race, a marathon, like training, is everything. It's peaks and troughs. You are going to have your times and you're feeling comfortable. You're going to have your time. For me, running the hills, when I'm going uphill, I have to drop off.
Yeah,
I don't do too well up the hills, but once I re-established after, so people who have passed me, I'd pass them a kilometre later. So again, when you're looking at distances that long, it's a long race. It is a marathon, not a sprint, and and it's likewise with the training, and like Aaron was saying, like you're sticking with people around you, but there's going to be others around you. You'll find your level with people, and you'll encourage each other along the way. Likewise with the training as well. So it's important to remember those key little factors as well. That there is going to be several people around you that you'll notice on the runs, like we have. You recognise the same hairband or the same luminous top. I've seen them a while ago.
Same hairline.
Yeah.
or lack thereof.
Makes us aerodynamic, like. But yeah, it is important to keep those little mental games. I suppose is the best way for those troughs and peaks through the run and through the race.
I always found when I was near the end, even though I'd be like encouraging people to keep on going, I was almost half saying it for myself as well. Just if I could push someone on, I could push myself
you get
on.
those leaders' legs,
exactly. You find like if you're trying to pulling someone up and go with them, you kind of get that little extra to kick to keep on going. But when you look at you got 15-16 weeks, and you talk about building up to a 5k. Would you had a look online at Google for different marathon plans, or have you just went, I'm going to try and do a 5k and that's it then?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to try to do a 5k and then build up.
So once you get to 5-10's the next goal, and build your way up from that way?
Yeah, kind of. Well, like I'll probably have different distance runs throughout the week.
Right.
I think first of all, try to get up to 5k in 2 weeks. If I accomplish that, which I hopefully will, then look into some program of trying to actually build up more pace and try and keep try and make sure that it's bearable.
Gotcha.
Whereas I'm not like struggling. I don't do 10k after the first 5, build up to 5k, do 10k, and then I'm absolutely burnt out the next day because I still go work and still have to be a bit mobile around the office, even though it's only 5,000 steps.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You're at a small disadvantage to when we did it because we had the race series. So unless you get something in the next 8 to 10 weeks to sign up to do like a half marathon, for example, like when we did our first 3 was the Dublin City Marathon. So we were able to go right by the end of September. I need to get half marathon pace at least and be somewhat comfortable doing it, and then build the last 6 weeks towards the main thing. Whereas you're at a slight disadvantage because you're like, you got to go from 15-16 weeks out straight through to your neck at the moment, with the exception of the 5k Marley Park runs. Your next big race is Madrid for that last one. So it's literally just build up the pace leading to there.
Yeah, well, I'd say like as well, we look back at the same weekend at Dublin, I think was the KBC half marathon was on. I didn't have a ticket for that one, so I ran a half marathon in Phoenix Park the day before. Yeah. Do you know, like what I will say about the race day and the build up, the race atmosphere will help you. Yeah. More so than a run on your own. So if anything, you're helped by being on your own, suffering in your own head for a half marathon on your own pace. Like everyone has the Nike app, or you can download the fitness pal, or some people have a watch or a Fitbit or a Garmin, and they are the guys to give you how far you've run, the paces that you've done, the same way as the start clock or finish clock. And all you were missing is the crowd, the atmosphere, the build up, the preparation, the getting to the start line. You're missing that kind of experience in the 10k, but if you can build it up with 5ks and 10ks, you can build up that kind of atmosphere. Because I think of anything on the day, you get this, like we talked about the leaders' legs or something, you get that little bit of extra of the crowd around you, the people around you, there's someone to hang on to. So I think you're not really missing out, if especially people can't afford it in the new year, just signing up and this, that and the other, like they're not cheap. Oh
no, definitely not. I just found that there's a different mentality, there's a different approach when you're put there on race day, which is usually the same time. Absolutely. And you can still mimic it to a certain extent, but when you're with the crowds and your pace is thrown off a little bit at the start, and you see people rush ahead of you, and just build up that mentality, and you'll have some after the park runs as well, where you're like, don't immediately chase after the guy beside you, because you're going to ruin your pace. And you might think at the start, you've got all this adrenaline and stuff. I know my first one was like, you had all this adrenaline and you're just like, I'm good to go, let's get it done. And 3k and you're like,
Declan Moffat playing a Maddie, finding the first ditch.
Where's that bus stop?
So I think that kind of wraps up your preparation for the next two weeks, leading towards the 5k, building up towards your first marathon. And then the next episode, Eric, we're going to be talking about you and how you somehow went from a goalkeeper to doing triathlons and endurance running, and why you've got a €400 watch on your wrist as well. So that is going to be on week 3 of the podcast. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Thank you for downloading, subscribing, and sharing it on your Instagram stories as well. Anyone else anything to add?
No, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.